automation can be a curse. If you focus too much on automation, you can alienate your customers and your audience. And so automation should be something that creates space, as you said, for you to do these like high touch, really delight moments for people. So I love that you just have it there on your phone. You get this notification, you read a little bit about them, and then you're able to send them a customized message that might take you 30 seconds or less to send. So if you have an online community, you know the importance of the onboarding process in your community, in your course, your membership, your group coaching program, whatever it might be, that onboarding process, what you do in the first 24 hours or 7 days of the business is going to have a direct impact on the happiness, the satisfaction, the success of the people in your program. I talk about this a lot, this onboarding process, but what I want to share with you today with my special guest is something that you can do within the first 3 minutes of somebody joining your program, 3 minutes of somebody joining your list. I am super pumped about this because the person that I'm going to introduce you to is a longtime entrepreneur, but she's somebody that is always thinking creatively about how to engage her community. And oftentimes she is leveraging new technology in a unique way to be able to create connection in a scalable way. And so I want you to meet Jamie Bright. Jamie is a dear friend of mine. I think we first met in person back in like 2016 or 2017. She was in the membership space. And since then, she's really leaned into serving through her Brighter Together mastermind. So she works specifically with successful entrepreneurs. And what I love about it is that she wants to get them out of the hustle mentality and really building an intentional lifestyle by design. She is a community builder that I have learned so much from over the years and continue to learn from. I have been at events with Jamie in the past, just to give you an idea of the kind of communities that she's able to build. I have witnessed people dye their hair rainbow colors and wear t-shirts with Jamie's face on it. That is the kind of communities that she is able to build. And when you get to know her, you will see why. She has a podcast that we'll tell you about in a little bit, a private podcast too, that I'm sure we're going to get you access to. But what we're going to talk about today is a simple strategy that you can use to really create connection and better understand your customer or potential customer within the first 3 minutes of connecting with them. So Jamie, hello. It's so good to see you, friend.
Hey, Shanna, thanks so much for having me.
I know we were just talking about how it may get a little noisy because there's some construction going on. Jamie's house like sits on the side of a cliff overlooking a lake in the middle of nowhere. So it's usually pretty quiet. And it just so happens that today there's like a bobcat outside of her window, and not like a animal bobcat, but like a machinery bobcat. So there may be some noise, but that's totally okay. We're good for it. So Jamie, I want to start off by talking to you about communities that you've been a part of. Is there one that you can think of that is your favorite community you've ever been a part of? And if so, what did you really love about that community?
I have a lot of communities that I've loved throughout time. And I think right now I'll stick with one of the more recent ones. And that's definitely been Impact Mastermind that's run by Stu McLaren. I've been a member of that group for almost 6 years now. And it is an incredible, tight-knit group of high-level entrepreneurs who are making an income and an impact. And man, it's not just like business meetings, like some masterminds are so content focused and so, not, which isn't bad. Like there's definitely content, but having been a part of this mastermind for the last 6 years and having been a part of the community that Stu brings together, which is just like, he attracts incredible people. It has definitely changed my life and my business in deep ways. And the people in this group have become closer than some family. Like I know during the hard times, I've been able to call on them to help me remember who I am and like help me rebuild my confidence. I've stayed with many of them personally in their homes. We've vacationed together. Like it has been the most impactful on my life personally in terms of being supported and really feeling like I had people who get what I do, which is rare in this world with my family, at least. And, but also like, are there to have fun with and know me personally and speak to my business in ways that other people can't. So it's been wonderful. It's by far my favorite community as of late, and it's helped me make tons of money in my business, as well as feel like I've just got these amazing people supporting me and that are friends. Awesome.
Well, I love that community as well. I haven't been a part of it as long as you have, but you guys are probably familiar with Stu. He's been on the podcast before. But the fact that you've been a part of a community like that, a mastermind community like that, that really merges and sees no boundaries between the professional and personal, I think is probably why you're so good at leading and cultivating masterminds yourself and helping other people do that, because you've been witness to and experienced a mastermind community that is unlike what you would traditionally find in the space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now, who you serve. I know it's masterminds. You have your own mastermind. You help people with their masterminds, but you really have a unique way that you do it, a unique culture, a unique cause with your work. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I really care about helping people come alive and create the reality in their life they want to have now. I know when I started my business online full-time 11 years ago, I was hustling like crazy. I was throwing spaghetti against the wall. I was trying all the things and it got big. And you say yes to every opportunity because you want to make sure you can grow. And it gets big and messy. And you get stuck in this messy middle. And it's really hard to get out of that. And there's this part of you that feels like, oh, you've got to put in that sweat equity and all of this stuff before you can have the life that you really want. So when 2020 happened and all of this hard stuff happened, and I took it as that painful permission to restart, I've been in the business long enough to know that you don't actually have to wait all that time to simplify. Like I waited like 7 years, maybe 8 years before I really started putting the systems and processes and all of that in place that could help me have the lifestyle I wanted. And I knew this time I didn't have the emotional capacity, one, for that with this whole big traumatic event that had happened. I know many of us are in that same boat. And two, I was determined to rebuild and build something that I love that was fully aligned with who I am in such a way that it fit my lifestyle, even from the very beginning. And so I really only had 20 to 30 hours a week that I could work. I didn't have the hustle. I didn't have the 70, 80 hours, the 7 days a week that I used to have when I was first doing it. And I was determined to do it with the focus and intention and alignment that I know you need to do that. And so as I was doing that, I started teaching and I realized as much as I've been teaching, I don't really feel called to teach. I want to lead masterminds and go deep with a small group of people because that was what was most impactful for me in getting out of that messy middle and really starting to scale. And so the mastermind, a lot of the theme behind that is really helping entrepreneurs who've reached a certain level of success and are, they know who they're serving, they've got a product they're selling, but they kind of feel stuck in that messy middle and their business is really running them. Their inconsistent cash flow is controlling their state of anxiety. And it's not really giving them the lifestyle they want yet. And they really want to revision what's possible and create a business that supports the lifestyle they really want to have.
Oh man, Jamie, that just feels like a breath of fresh air because as somebody else who's been in entrepreneurship and in this space for 10 years, you really do feel the heaviness and the pressure of the hustle. And I have a few kids. You have, I think, twice as much, if not more, kids than I do. And over time, you just kind of realize that you can have both and you don't have to sacrifice your well-being. You don't have to sacrifice your lifestyle to create a business that is sustainable and impactful. And so I'm really glad to hear that you are leaning into that, supporting other people in doing it. And you said that you want to go deep with a few because you have served many before. Like you said, you did have a 7-figure online business, shut that down. That freed you up to be able to create this beautiful space, this beautiful mastermind for people and support them in creating their own. But what we're going to talk about today is a specific strategy that you use. And I love it because it allows you to go deep and create intimacy quick and do it in a way that is scalable. So talk to us about this strategy because when you told me about it, I was like, yes, we need to share this with people because it's so good. And just so you all know, as Jamie is sharing this, she's going to talk about it in the specific context in which she is using it. But I want you to have an open mind because there are so many ways that you can use this inside of your onboarding for your membership. You could use it in your onboarding for potential clients. If you're a one-on-one consultant, you can use it for as a part of your list building. You can use it as a part of people signing up for an event, like a live event. There are so many ways to leverage this. So Jamie, go ahead, tell us what it is.
Okay, so part of how I've been finding people who might be a good fit for my mastermind is that I did this workshop called the Launch Your First Mastermind workshop. Because when I launched my very first beta version of, beta is not the right word, but the very first mastermind, it was a smaller group. And I only had like 86 people on my email list because I was literally starting over from scratch. And I had a lot of people that I talked to personally who said, oh, I've been wanting to do that, or I just started my own. Can you give me, some tips? Because I'm an open book. And so I created this. I thought that's a great filter for helping me find people who are further along. Because I'm not looking for people who are brand new, who don't know who they serve, who don't have their offer nailed. I'm really looking for people who are making at least six figures or pretty dang close and growing fast. And so I made this Launch Your First Mastermind workshop. I basically just took everything I had just done, packaged it into a workshop, explained it, talked a lot about how to design the mastermind for their specific audience. And it's like 2 hours, super easy, super low dollar. So what I wanted to do was, as I was running ads to this, as I was getting people coming in the door from this, and hopefully scaling this up, I wanted to create a process so that if somebody was coming into this and they weren't already in a mastermind and they were a good fit for it, I would know who those people were versus the people that maybe were already in a mastermind. They just wanted, the scripts and the templates and all the stuff that I had put together to make it fast and easy and weren't necessarily in need of what I was offering. So it was just, my first thought was, how can I segment them to know? And so I use a little tool called Video Ask. And Shanna, you've used this as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I love it. There's a lot of people inside of the course and membership space that use this, even on the support side, but you use it in this really unique way, which is why I was super excited for you to talk about it.
Yeah, I use Video Ask on the front end of my stuff. So I use it for opt-ins, I use it for all sorts of stuff. But I decided to use it here because what it does is Video Ask is an app where basically they get a video of you and then they can respond personally, or you can set it up kind of like a personalized form. So if you use Typeform or Gravity Forms or any of those things, and you can use conditional logic in it. So you can automatically push the information into your CRM so that you collect the information that you get. So,
okay, so we're going to slow down just a second here. Conditional logic, which basically means that based on how I respond to question 1, you can give me a different question for question 2. So you might have question 2A, question 2B. Depending on my response, I get a different question. So that's that. And then CRM is your customer relationship management system. So that's where all of the data lives about the people on your email list. So this is like your Infusionsoft or Keep or Active Campaign or whatever it might be.
Totally. Yeah. So for me, it's Entreport. But so this tactic, I'm making it sound complicated, but basically the first thing they do is when they sign up for the Launch Your First Mastermind, so they bought this low dollar product, they're taken to a thank you page and it says, you're going to get stuff via email. And then it says, but before you do that, click here to join the community and access the materials, because everything's within a Facebook group. Because at the time, especially when I was setting it up, I was doing it all live. And so when they clicked that link, it did not take them to Facebook. It took them to my Video Ask. And basically it took them to a video of me. And it just said, hey, thank you so much for signing up. I'd love to know, why did you sign up for the workshop? Now, that question is very specific because what it does is they just paid like seconds earlier. And this tells me in the moment what part of my messaging resonated with them so much that they decided to pull the trigger. So we always throw stuff out there. We don't always know what messaging is going to be the strongest. This first question tells me exactly what messaging is resonating and what isn't. And you get your sales copy fed right back to you, and you get to see immediately what it is. And you get to learn a little bit about the person and their specific context and how that messaging relates to them. And anytime we can make our copy and our messaging more specific, it's going to be more powerful. So that first question is very powerful. They can answer via video, audio, or text, which is always great. Sometimes they might say something via video, if they do a video, that you could come back to them and say, hey, that was amazing. I'm so glad you signed up because of this. I think other people would be inspired by it. Can I share that as a testimonial? And so you can even kind of collect testimonials on the front end. So that's the first question.
It's so good. It's like one question, one simple question about why did you sign up for this program? Why did you download this guide, whatever it might be? And you're getting feedback about your sales messaging so that you can refine that. You're learning more about this individual and you're potentially collecting little snippets of stories and case studies and people like me that you can use in your marketing. Okay, so good. Keep going.
So that's step one. Once they send that, the step two is that I would ask them, are you planning to launch a mastermind during the live portion of the workshop? Because that was what I have it on autopilot now, but I wanted to know, are you currently launching a mastermind or are you just thinking about it and aren't sure? Because I wanted to make sure that if somebody was launching now, I was paying attention and could collect their story of success afterwards so I could get those testimonials as well. That was just a button. They didn't have to say anything. They didn't have to write anything. They click a button on the screen. Then it was taken to a third screen. And the third screen was me asking them, are you currently in a mastermind? Are you not in a mastermind? Or are you thinking about joining a maybe I don't have a third one. I can't remember there. But I wanted to know, are they currently in a mastermind or not? And so that also was click a button. And so what I was able to do is segment them immediately. I was able to learn about, what made them buy. And then after they answered that, it took them to the group where they could get in. And so it let me collect that data automatically without having to like scrape the Facebook questions page where we often ask those things. So I didn't even need to use the Facebook questions and have a VA add that in. But this is the pretty part of Video Ask that I absolutely love, is that when they finish filling that out and they go to the Facebook group, it sends me a notification on my phone. And this is where this third part about delighting your client comes in. And I get a notification on my phone. If you have a team, you can set it up so your team to get notified too as well. And you can immediately grab your phone, click record right in the app and say, hey, Shanna, I'm so glad that you signed up. I saw that you are certainly going to be launching your mastermind, that you're not currently in one. If you ever want to talk about how, how it's going, what the launch is going to look like, if you have questions, hit reply. If you want to hear more about the mastermind I run, I'd love to talk to you about that. Either way, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. Definitely, or just approved you. So go in the Facebook group, go look in the guides. There is the PDF to get started with all the templates that you can download, and video one is right there waiting for you. So go see that. Super happy to have you. If you have any questions, just hit reply, let me know. And that one comes from me or my team. If I, when I grow my team to have them answering. Right now, I'm doing all of that because I've automated so much other stuff that I now have the space to give personal connection in the moments where it matters most. And then once you do that, most people reply back. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you responded to me personally. Like they get this email immediately that just gets sent and they can come in and they can reply back. You can have this conversation back and forth. And it's been one of the most powerful things I've done because now I have all of that information that I gathered gets sucked in via Zapier into my email program. So I use Entreport. And so I know, like if I want to, I can customize the emails I send. So if I know they're not in a mastermind, I might send them a different set of emails than I would send to somebody who's already in a mastermind. And because they have a familiarity about it or not, or if they're for sure launching now, I can send them, some follow-up questions maybe in a couple of weeks saying, hey, how'd your launch go? Versus if they didn't, I can say, hey, you bought this a month ago. Are you interested or are you still thinking about launching a mastermind or whatever? So I didn't you don't have to do all the complex stuff at the end, but you have options and you can automatically know more about your client coming in right away than you would otherwise. And it's so fast. It's like literally 3 minutes or less for them to go through this.
Yeah. And I think it's super fast to set up too, right? Like it's really easy to set up. And what I love is that you're saying you collect this data and you give the personal touch, which we've talked about this before, and you touched on this already, but automation can be a curse. If you focus too much on automation, you can alienate your customers and your audience. And so automation should be something that creates space, as you said, for you to do these like high touch, really delight moments for people. So I love that you just have it there on your phone. You get this notification, you read a little bit about them, and then you're able to send them a customized message that might take you 30 seconds or less to send. And it's really high value, high touch, as soon as they join. I mean, we're talking not even an hour into joining, they're getting something super high value, and that is just going to pay off for dividends in their journey with you. But that's what I was getting curious as you were talking about this is, man, what are all, you know me, a total data nerd. I'm like, what are all the other things you can do with this information and this data once you get it into Entreport or your email service provider? You have so many options, as you said. And don't let those overwhelm you. Don't think like, I have to set this up and then I'm going to send custom emails based on this. And there's 36 different ways that this can match up to create these unique avatars. Like, just start by getting the information, then start responding to people. But know that when you're ready, you've got the data to be able to do unique messaging in your email. Like you said, you could easily identify people that were potential participants in your mastermind versus those that already had a mastermind. And that just allows you to get just that one little piece of customization in your messaging that I just think is so great. It's high touch, high data, simple to set up. It's all the things that I love. So when you think about somebody who's going in a video ask and they're trying to set this up, or maybe they don't even want to use video ask at first. Maybe they do just want to use a form or something like that that keeps it super simple, but they've picked their 3 questions, which is really what I think you need to do, right? Pick these 3 questions that are going to give you information, help bucket people, get to know them more. What is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's trying to set up something like this to create this kind of interaction?
Yeah, well, video ask is inexpensive and so easy. I mean, it's super easy. But if you don't want to go that route, I used to do it with a Facebook group with the 3 questions that you can ask them. It's just that once people are approved, the answers disappear. So you have to manually copy and paste all of those out. And when I would launch, I'd have like 5,000 people going through a challenge. And so I paid my VA so many hours just to go through and grab all of that data, but it can be done, especially if you're starting on a smaller scale. But I always love to ask, why did you buy? If it's a buy, or why did you sign up, so that I know where people are at. I love to ask what their current problem is or struggle with this is, if I like in that context. And I would generally ask, like, what email did you use to sign up if you have to prove that they were part of the course or something like that. But, when they moved to an alumni group, because I used to do a full group for the course. And then once that was done, we would close that group and move them into an alumni group. And anybody could come over. And a lot of people just automatically put, like if they're part of a member of this group, they can join automatically. But I like to capture the data again and say, now that you've been through the course, what are your current hesitations or struggles? And then how far did you get in the course? And then something else, I can't remember what the third question was, but it let me capture the customer journey at different points along the value ladder, however you want to say it, so that I knew exactly where their mindset was and where it shifted after going through the first thing and going into the second thing. So it can be used in lots of different ways. You do not have to have the fancy tech to do it. It's a lot harder to do the personal touch, because I would try and send messenger messages to people when they'd sign up for my groups when I wasn't doing high volume, and they don't always see them. It ends up in that request folder and it might be seen as spam, and Facebook doesn't like you doing a lot of that, oddly enough. And so this gets around all of it, and it shows up right in their inbox. You can even collect their SMS number if you want to. And if your order form, when they sign up for something, or your opt-in form, if it's not a product, if that is set up where it can pass their information to the next screen, which it's a little techy, but like a lot of shopping carts will let you pass that information to the next screen. You can actually grab their name and email and shove it right into Video Ask automatically, so that they don't have to put it in again. So that's a little more techy than I want to get into the how, but it's all about passing variables. And so most, I'm not going to say all, but most shopping carts, most order forms will pass that personal information to the next screen. And so you can set it up so that it will grab that in the Video Ask, so they don't have to enter it again either.
Even easier for them. So one of the things you touched on, which is sort of you said it so quickly, because I think you've been an entrepreneur for so long that you don't realize the wisdom that you have. And so I just want to pause for a second before we wrap up and just kind of point this out. Jamie just talked about how she was trying to do this before, with Facebook group questions and trying to keep it free and doing what she thought maybe would be easier or faster, because who wants to learn a new technology? Who wants to pay for a new tool, right? When you're in the beginning entrepreneurial stages, you kind of feel that way, like, oh gosh, I don't want to learn a new tool or new technology. Man, I don't want to have another subscription. But what you said there about like it is so much easier. The time that it took you to set up has paid off in dividends because you're not paying a VA to scrape those questions, or you're not using your time to scrape those questions. And then ultimately it's a better experience for your people. I mean, I'm sure that people in your community have shared with you like how this process has delighted them. Have you had people in your community just sort of be like, wow, Jamie, that was amazing?
Yeah, I think the thing that throws them off is it's just so different from what everyone else is doing. And with the way that everything that happened in 2020 shook out and everybody, not everybody, but so many more people flooded online and started businesses. It was really an opportunity where people saw what was possible with the online space and with Zoom and everything else. And everybody's doing the same things. And it got really noisy. And so in order to stand out and in order to really succeed long term, you have to differentiate. And this is something I get seasoned entrepreneurs. I get new people who are like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is so much fun. I can't believe we can have a conversation back and forth. Because that's another thing that's different is you can send videos to people on Messenger or via email and link to a Loom video or a Searchy video or whatever, but they can't just click and reply super easy. And when you can make it a one-click reply that's easy for them, you can have the most amazing conversations back and forth, and it builds trust super fast. And when you have trust and they like you, they will buy from you versus anyone else 9 times out of 10 because of that no like and trust factor. And this just builds it super fast.
That is incredible advice. Just bringing people back to how quickly and easily can you build trust with people. And it's worth the extra effort of maybe learning a new tool. It's worth the extra effort of having those personalized touch points. So, Jamie, if people want to experience this path for themselves or they want to learn more about your mastermind, what's the best way for them to be able to do that?
Okay, so if you want to see how this is set up and working and you're interested in maybe designing or launching a mastermind, you can go to launchyourfirstmastermind.com. It's a very low dollar, $37 workshop, 2 hours of goodness. And so you'll go through the order form, you'll get to the thank you page, and you'll see it right there and get to experience it. Otherwise, if you're interested in hearing more about the Brighter Together mastermind that I run, which is in small groups, it's different than some of the many, many large mastermind groups that are out there that really want that closeness and belonging. Go to wearebrightertogether.com. Spoiler alert, that's also a video ask. So you'll get to experience how I am engaging with people who are interested in joining the mastermind. You can go to wearebrightertogether.com and check out that video ask about the mastermind there. And I'll respond back to you. It's me.
And I really want you guys to do this because I talk about this a lot. It's one thing to learn a new strategy or tactic. It's another thing to experience it for yourself. And so I really do want you to experience this. So I think it was $37 to do that little workshop. Do it just to experience what Jamie is talking about, because it's going to make it that much more easy for you to apply it for yourself and go see how she's leveraging it for the Brighter Together Mastermind as well. And Jamie, it's funny because we were talking about this before. You are an experienced podcaster in that you have a podcast that we can all take advantage of, but then you have this like super top secret podcast that's a private podcast that is, like I said, Jamie being amazingly brilliant and clever and using technology in unique ways to create more trust and build more connection with my people. So, Jamie, can you tell us a little bit about this super secret podcast and how people can get access to it?
Sure. So I started this podcast because in my mastermind, every once in a while I drop some voice memos. I'd be like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about right now. And it wasn't all formed. I did not have all the answers. I hadn't already tested things. And one of the gals was like, you should really share these with other people because they are so good and they're so helpful in the moment. And on my public podcast, the Bright Entrepreneur podcast, I tend to share things that I've already done with, nice formatted bullet points and the call to action and the intro, like just all of it, right? And it's usually later once it's all nice and polished and I have takeaways. And so I thought, well, I would do that like for anybody on my email list. And so I use a service called Hello Audio, which lets you do private podcasts. And it's only for people who subscribe via email because you actually get a unique link. You can't share it with other people. It won't work for them. There's some sort of crazy magic behind the scenes. And it's literally me grabbing my phone whenever the thought comes to mind, wherever I'm at, and recording it. Like, here's what I'm thinking about. Here's what's going on in my business. And da, 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 da. And they range from 2 minutes to 20 minutes ish. I've recorded from my bathtub. I've recorded from my car. I've recorded with kids in the background, but it's raw. It's in the moment. It's a behind the scenes. Here's what I'm thinking about as I grow my business. And there's a video ask link in the show notes of that as well, where I can engage with people. So if people have thoughts and want to give feedback or have an actual conversation around it, I can do that too. So it's super fun. And you can get access to that by going to gettheprivatepodcast.com. And that's only for people on my email list because that's the only way I can give you access.
I love it. Gettheprivatepodcast.com. And I'm going to have links to the resources that we've talked about inside of the show notes that you can connect with Jamie. Jamie, friend, thank you so much for being a part of this and for sharing this strategy. I know this is something that people are going to be able to leverage really easily to create more connection right away with their customers and future customers. So thank you for being so transparent and sharing the details with us.
Thanks for having me, Shanna.
Of course. Have a good day.